Hey guys, how's it going? This is Mike from M&R Automotive. Today we have a brand new 2025 Lexus GX550 and we've installed a 30-inch slim light bar inside the bottom bumper opening. You have to take off the top trim piece. It's held by push pins. So the way to get these out, you actually have to press into them. Take a screwdriver, press the top in, and then they should come out. Press, remove. So now that we have all the clips removed, we can just lift up on the trim piece and put it aside. On top, we're going to remove the three 10mm bolts. And we're going to put these aside. So after removing these three, this pretty much unclips, and let's start working on the bottom of the grille. Alright, so now we're underneath the vehicle. We're going to take out all the bolts that are holding the aluminum skid plate. So there's 4 here. I think I see 2 more. There's a clip in the middle. We're just going to pop the top, so that way we can remove it. Now we can take down the skid plate. There is 1 bolt on each side. Those are 2 left from the bottom that are holding the supports that are holding the front end to the bottom brace. That's 1. This one has a washer. It's like a rubber washer. I'm gonna leave it on it. And then the second one's right here. Same thing, there's a rubber washer. I'm going to keep them together. Now we're working on the sides. We're going to take off these 2 trim pieces, 1 on each end, and I can see 1, 2, 3 bolts and a push pin. And we're going to put this aside. Alright, I'm going to remove 1, 2, and 3, and that should just detach the sides. So now that we've removed these bolts, it looks like everything's freed up here. So now we're going to do the same thing on the passenger side. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing on the passenger side. 3 bolts, 1 pin. This removes the whole bottom, and there's a couple more that we're going to take off. Looks like everything's freed here. Let's start working on the wheel wells. Now we're in the driver's side wheel well. We're going to be removing 3 push pins and an Allen screw. Push pin and a Allen. Alright, so now that we removed the 3 clips and an Allen screw, we can peel back the inner liner. By getting the liner free, you can reach in here and we can unclip the fender flares. There's like a little, they call it Christmas tree tabs, but when you squeeze them from the back, it should release. So you squeeze, there's these clips behind. When you squeeze it, they come out, and there's 1, 2. When we free up the fender flare, there's 1 push pin here, and when you remove it, this should free up and separate the bumper from the fender. So with this clip, we're just going to go ahead and raise the top, and we're going to remove it, and that's going to separate the fender and the bumper. Now we can pry this and unclip it. So just to show you, these are the clips that we were separating from the back side. In order to free it, you just kind of push on it and you'll be able to loosen it up and then peel the fender flare out. So now that the driver's side is unclipped, we're going to do the same thing on the passenger side. So now we're on the passenger side, same thing. We have a couple of clips to remove here. That's 1. So now we have 1 Allen bolt. Now we can peel back the liner, and we're going to have access to these clips to release the fender flares. So once again, I'm just squeezing the tab in order to get it detached, and there's 1 push pin here that we have to release in order to separate the bumper from the fender. This is the push pin. I've taken it out. So now we can unclip the side. Now that you got the sides loosened, let's go ahead and disconnect all the electronics and the water line for the washer fluid. So we're going to unplug this harness, and the way you do it, you put a screwdriver on the top until it separates, and then all you have to do is this gray lever, just bring it down. When you bring it down, it's going to separate the 2 pieces, and you can take it off. Alright, so after you disconnect this harness, let's go on the driver's side. I think there's a harness there as well as windshield wiper fluid. Fluid line. Bam! I made a kink, and then I'm going to zip tie it. Bam! No mess. So just to summarize really fast, the windshield washer fluid line, it's directly to the reservoir. So whenever you remove it from the other connection, you want to kink it and put a zip tie around it so that way you don't lose all your windshield washer fluid on the floor. Another alternative would be to put a bucket on the bottom, drain it all, and then just re-add it after you finish the install. Great, so let's go ahead and continue unplugging the electronics. So there's a harness here, the gray harness. If you push on the tab here, you should be able to take this off. I think we got all the electronics and the water lines disconnected, so now we're going to remove the front end. We can lift up on the top tabs to free the top and start unclipping it. So now that we have the front end of the vehicle off, let me show you how to install the 30-inch slim light bar. We're going to be reusing factory hardware. There is one screw that we're going to remove on this side and one on here. We're going to slide in our brackets underneath it, and we're going to reinstall the same screws. Makes the installation very easy. So I'm going to go ahead and remove a driver's side and passenger side screw. With the M&R kit, you do get a driver's side and a passenger side bracket. They're marked with D's and P's for driver and passenger. We're going to start with the driver's side bracket. So I'm going to grab my driver's side bracket, I'm going to lift on this trim up, and I'm going to slide it underneath it. So the little oval is going to go on the part on the bumper, and then we have a slot here for the light bar so that way we can adjust it up and down. So now with the eyelet aligned with the factory bolt hole, I'm going to reinstall the factory screws. I'm not going to tighten them all the way. I like to tighten those last after I thread the light bar through the bracket. So let's do the same thing on the passenger side. I'm going to prop this plastic trim piece up, and I'm going to slide the bracket underneath it and align the eyelid with the thread. Also make sure that the bracket is slid underneath the wiring so it doesn't interfere with anything. And we're going to use the factory screw to thread it back into the bumper. Not going to tighten it all the way. Like I mentioned, after we thread the light bar through it, I'm going to tighten these last. So now we're going to install the light bar onto the M&R brackets. I'm going to put it in between. I'm going to use supplied hardware to thread it through the eyelids into the bar. And now same thing on the driver's side. Before you tighten these bolts, there is adjustability of the light bar on the rail, but in my opinion this is probably the best opening for the light bar. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to line it with it, and I usually keep my fingers on both sides of the light bar and around that slot to make it centered. So when you tighten the side bolt, we can align it with our hands. Same thing on the passenger side. Awesome. So now let me show you how it looks like through the grille. So it should be, if you see it here, it should be right in the center through the grille. It's not obstructed, it'll provide maximum output. And now with the light bar installed, we can tighten the main bolts that hold the bracket to the bumper. Alright, so now we're going to reinstall the front end. Okay, so now with the wiring, make sure that it comes out on top of the grille into the engine bay, so that way we can connect it to the auxiliary switches. So now follow the same steps, but in reverse, that we used when removing the grille to put it back on. Now that we have the front end back on the vehicle, now it's time for wiring. Now that we have the wire in the engine bay, we have to give it some power. There's two ways we can do that. We can use factory auxiliary switches. I'm going to show you how to do it using and creating your own pigtails off of it. Or you can use an M&R wireless wiring harness, connect this to the battery, and just use a wireless remote from inside the cab to control all your electronics. So let's go to the auxiliary switches where I'm going to show you how to connect the light bar to them. So on the GX550, there's two sets of auxiliary switches. Switches 1 and 2 are going to be on the driver's side. There's a socket back here, I'll show you where it is. And there's also switch 3 and 4, which is on the passenger side. So let's go ahead and get access to that socket. We'll separate it, and I'm going to show you how to pin it. So on the driver's side, there is a socket back here, and that controls auxiliary 1 and 2. So we're looking for a plug, that black one over there with the orange rubber grommets. If you remove the windshield washer fluid reservoir, you can actually get your hand in there and maneuver it. So what I'm going to do, when you squeeze this, you can actually pull up on it, get it out the way, and now we can have this hand go inside and work and help you with separating the plug. So in order to separate, it's a male and female end, so you're going to have to squeeze it and get the cap off. So with two hands, try to squeeze it, And what I'm going to remove, this is the female part. The male part actually stays on the vehicle. It's part of the harness. So I want to show you on this cap, it doesn't have any pins or wires, so Lexus wants you to actually pin it yourself. I couldn't find any information on the internet what kind of pins in terms of part numbers. I got a set on Amazon of different pin sizes, and I'm going to simplify it for you. Identified which pins are required for AUX 1 and 2. So AUX 1 is going to be this one, and AUX 2 is the one below. And I purchased this on Amazon. It's a kit of various sizes of pins. We're going to list the link in the description, so that way you guys can get your own. So I'm going to take off the two rubber grommets for AUX 1 and 2. So this is AUX 1. And since we're going to be using two of them, I'm going to pin both. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to get a little bit of wire on it. We're going to crimp it, and then I'm going to try to get it from the back. Hopefully it'll lock itself in. I'm just going to get some wire. I got a piece of 14 gauge wire, and the pin that we're going to put on here is going to be 621-4.8. So there's two tabs there that you're supposed to squeeze in order to crimp this end onto the wire, and if you don't do it correctly, it's not going to fit the opening of the plug. Now that I have it here, let's go ahead and feed it through the back of the plug. I heard a little clicking sound, which is good. So we're going to get another wire. It's going to be a little bit different color, so that way we can separate auxiliary 1 and 2 from this harness. And the part number for this one is 627-F2.2. So let's try to pin this. So now I'm going to go ahead and insert it from the back. Hopefully it locks in place. Alright, it looks pretty good. We're going to install this plug onto the vehicle's harness, and I'm going to toggle switch 1 and 2 to make sure that you actually get 12 volts on these pigtails. So I have the adapter that we've been working on with the pigtails, and I dragged out the plug towards the location where we had the windshield reservoir tube. There's a little bit more space here, and I'm going to try to connect it. Okay, I clicked in. Now that the harness is in, I have my voltmeter ready. I'm going to hit AUX 1 with the ignition on, and I'm going to check to make sure I'm getting 12 volts here. If I am, that means that the plug and then the pins are working properly. So now I'm going to turn on AUX 1, make sure that there is a green light. So with the red, I'm going to touch the contact, and with the black, I'm going to touch a bolt, and here we have 12.2 volts, which shows that we are having power on our pigtail. So let me do the same thing with AUX 2. I'm going to go ahead and switch off AUX 1 and turn on AUX 2. Also, whenever you guys are toggling like that, make sure that these wires don't touch the chassis, because it might spark and blow a fuse. But I was making sure that they're not. And right now we're going to check AUX 2, which is the black wire. We're going to connect it to red, and the black is going to be the ground. So you can see on the voltmeter, 12.2 volts, which means that we have AUX 1 and AUX 2 wired correctly. Now that the auxiliary switches are set up, let me show you how to connect our light bar. So the light bar that we're connecting is a dual function light bar, meaning it has powerful white light as well as Amber DRL. Therefore, you actually have three wires. You have the ground, which is the black wire. You have the red wire, which is the power to the main function of the light, which is white. And then you have a white wire, that's the Amber DRL backglow, daytime running light. So we're technically going to need two different switches, so that way we can switch off between the two functions of the light bar. So let me show you how to connect it to auxiliary 1 and 2. So on the light bar, we do have to put an eyelid where the ground connection is. So I'm going to put a crimp connector with the eyelid on it. And then we're going to have to put two crimp connectors for the two power sources. One for the red light. So we did the red, and I'm going to put one on the white. So for the ground, we can actually use this bolt. So I'm going to take it out and thread the eyelid. I thread it through the eyelid and reinstall it. Okay, and now we're going to connect the two different powers. Auxiliary 1, that's going to be our red wire, and auxiliary 2, that's going to be our black wire, which we're going to connect to the white wire of the light bar, because that's the DRL function. Alright, so let's go ahead and test our wiring. So you can see everything's working perfectly. The light bar looks amazing. It's super easy to install, and I love the fact that you can tap into the factory auxiliary switches. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and got the confidence that you need to install this kit yourself. I know you guys are going to love the product.